Much in the way you would use a ruler to measure something in space, you would use a normative theory to measure some action. Normative theories are the standards by which we could judge whether an action is good or bad, wrong or right, permissible or impermissible. A theory which is normative tells you what you should and should not do. Normative ethics tells us the standards that there are to use to judge whether an action is a good action. Different normative theories tell you what you should and should not do using different rulers. They judge whether an action is permissible using a ruler that is sometimes incompatible with the ruler used by other normative theories, which also tell you what you should or should not do. Two examples of normative theories include deontology and utilitarianism. Both of those are normative theories that tell you what you should and should not do. They use different rulers. Normative theories will leave you in the dark about whether they're right or wrong. According to hedonism, the chief good in life is pleasure. Your goal in life is to seek pleasure and avoid pain. Whose pleasure should you seek? When we're talking about rulers in real life, you can always convert the numbers from centimeters to millimeters or from light years to miles, but that's not the case when we're talking about normative theories. Normative theories each tell you that they have the right ruler to measure your action to see if your action is a good one or a bad one. According to divine command theory, the more your action is pleasurable to the gods or to God, the better your action is. A bad action, according to divine command theory, is the one that's not pleasurable to the gods. If you're an egoist, then your action is good insofar as it's pleasurable to you or helps you avoid pain. If you're a utilitarianist, then your action is good insofar as it brings about the greatest pleasure for the greatest number. Every version of divine command theory tells you that you should do what pleases God. Every version of utilitarianism tells you to do the greatest good and cause the greatest pleasure and decrease the most pain for the greatest number. Hedonism tells you that whatever you do should be motivated by the goal of increasing your pleasure and decreasing your pain. You've got you at the center of your moral community. The community is all of the things that you care about. And as long as you make sure you're in there and you're seeking your pleasure and avoiding your pain, then you're following a hedonistic principle. That makes utilitarianism a version of hedonism. Because in utilitarianism, the principle tells you to do the greatest good for the greatest number of things that you're counting. So if in your moral community you want to include your mom, then utilitarianism says, do what's best for you and your mom together. Those are the two that you're counting. If utilitarianism to you means your nation, then do what's greatest for all of the Bosnians, or the Russians, or the Americans, or the Brazilians, or the Belizeans. Utilitarianism doesn't tell you who is in your moral community. Utilitarianism doesn't tell you who should be in your moral community. The theory just tells you you should be motivated by whatever is going to leave whoever is in your moral community best off. Do the thing for the greatest number of people or animals or sentient beings that you've decided are important and have put in your moral community. That makes utilitarianism a version of hedonism because it revolves around you. It's whatever gives you and your people pleasure or your sentient beings pleasure. But what if you don't have your nation in your moral community with you, or your extended family, or your mom in there with you? What if it's really all about what's best for you? You might be an egoist as your way of being a hedonist instead of being a utilitarian as your way of being a hedonist. The egoist will think that the principle by which to live is to seek pleasure for them as an individual and avoid pain for you, for me, for them as an individual, for us as individuals. And you could be an egoist and hope that everybody is an egoist and hope that everybody just does what's best for them. If we all take care of ourselves, then nobody needs us to take care of them. That's different than being a utilitarian, where you would seek pleasure for all of the people in your moral community, or to avoid pain for all of the people or animals or sentient beings in your moral community. Since egoism, utilitarianism, and other versions of hedonism tell you that any action is good so long as it brings about pleasure and avoids pain, hedonism and their different versions are consequentialist, meaning your intentions don't determine whether your action is good. A hedonistic view is one that would approve any action so long as the consequences make it better, meaning plus to your pleasures and minus to your pains, for you and all the people in your moral community. Other things will be valuable, but they would be instrumentally valuable. They would be important for you to get insofar as they will lead you to what is pleasurable.